Okay, I guess we should start. I will have some introductory words, so I think some people can still join while I say hello and welcome to all of you. Welcome to the IGAC ICA Early Career Skills Workshop on Networking. And we are happy that we can share this workshop with you. I'm Martin, and I'm a member of the IGAC ICA ECR SSC. And before we start, I would like to briefly introduce what all these nice acronyms mean and what's so great about them. The International Commission on Atmospheric Chemistry and Global Pollution is the ICACGP, and the International Global Atmospheric Chemistry Project is the IGAC. So ICACGP is a scientific body which is under the International Association of Metrology and Atmospheric Sciences, the IAMAS, and it was established to advance our understanding of atmospheric chemistry, promote international cooperation, and interdisciplinary research to address global pollution issues. The IGAC project is a global research initiative under Future Earth and the World Climate Research Program. So IGAC's mission is to coordinate and foster atmospheric chemistry research that addresses critical scientific and associated challenges such as air quality, climate change, and the health of ecosystems. In fact, today's workshop will be given by Langley DeWitt, who is also the director of the IGAC project office. So if there are any questions on IGAC, I'm sure that Langley is happy to answer them later. And we, the early career researchers from the ICACGP IGAC committee, we hope that most of you are here because you registered already for our early career committee's regular newsletter, which can be found on our website, which you can see on the slide. And in case you did not check out the website, you can do that here or in the social media channels. We formed last year, and since then we organized already an online ECR conference last year. And this year we started with our newsletter series and a workshop series. So feel free to join, and maybe the ones of you who joined here because of the newsletter could raise their hand just for us to see if we reached somebody by that in the chat. Maybe someone can pay attention. Okay, at least one person, that's nice. But that also means that all the other persons can still register for the newsletter, which is also nice. The last workshop we did was on the review process in science, and today's workshop is about networking with the subtitle Almost Everyone Feels Awkward, but you still have to do it. And as we introduced, we are happy to have Langley DeWitt here as a speaker. She's an atmospheric chemist, did her PhD at the University of Colorado in Boulder, did a postdoctoral fellow at NOAA, and worked as a research scientist on different continents and many different groups. And as introduced already, she's also the head of the IGAC International Project Office. So with that, I hope that you will enjoy the workshop, and I will hand over to Langley now. So Langley, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you. I'm Langley DeWitt, as I said, the IGAC project director. And thanks to the early career researchers for putting together this workshop. We need to find a shorter name for you guys. I feel like that it's more snappy. It's a nice small group, so feel free to interrupt at any time and ask questions. I've never given a formal workshop on networking, so if there's things I'm missing or you want to learn more about, just let me know. And I will start by sharing my screen.
At the top left, swap displays should work.
Yep, beautiful.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. See, no one is perfect. Yeah, so basically most people feel awkward networking or sharing their screen in the morning on Zoom, but you still have to do it. It's really important for your work and your life. So I'll sort of go through how I approach networking, different types of networking, tips to know on how to network. I'm going to do sort of an asset map where you talk about your strengths that you can bring to a network, and map the network that you currently have and figure out, some gaps that you could start to fill in your overall network. Just a quick introduction on the IGAC project for those that aren't familiar. Martin gave a nice introduction, but it's the International Global Atmospheric Chemistry Project. And our mission statement is to advance atmospheric chemistry towards a sustainable world by advancing knowledge, fostering community, building capacity, and engaging society in matters of atmospheric chemistry. And so we do that in different ways. So advancing knowledge, there's international collaboration around scientific questions through community-proposed IGAC activities. We foster community through IGAC conferences, workshops, summer schools, regional working groups, and communication, so websites, social media, newsletters, mailing lists, and the IGAC early careers are doing a great job fostering early career community as well. We build capacity through summer schools, workshops. There's a biennial early career short course, early career programs during conferences, and events like this created by this volunteer committee. And engaged society is like a new facet of IGAC that we're still working on, but engage, through policymaker discussions, decimation of our results, and communications of atmospheric chemistry matters to the general public. So that's a quick note on IGAC. And yeah, so just quickly the agenda, which I already talked about. We'll have a couple of breakout rooms, I think, since we have maybe enough people for breakout rooms, where you can do some work on networking, mapping, and meet your fellow atmospheric chemists. So what is networking and why network? I'm sure you all know, what networking is generally, but, it's the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts, right? And there's lots of different types of networking you can do. There's general networking, which is great to do, generally all the time, expanding contacts with interesting people, working in similar or related fields. There's things like informational interviews, which you learn about different types of jobs, not during an interview process, but generally, you find people that are doing work you find interesting, and you have an informational interview with them about what kind of work they're doing. And I've done that a lot when I was transitioning out of strict academia, and that was super helpful. There's also task-focused networking. So like maybe you have a specific report or a paper and you need somebody who has a special skill. You need to find that person with that special skill. So you're networking for that. Hobbies. So I live in Colorado. I love outdoor hobbies. I'm always need partners for those. So I'm always sort of networking, task-focused for, a climbing buddy or a ski buddy. And then finding a new job would be an example of a task-focused networking. So yeah, there's different levels of networking that you can do. Why would you network? It allows you to achieve something that you can't achieve on your own, right? That's why IGAC was created. You can't solve global atmospheric chemistry process problems with one person, right? You need global international collaboration to do that. And you need a network of people that, trust each other to get that work done. It also expands your knowledge of professional and personal opportunities, which is great. So if you're an early career researcher, you're not sure what you want to do next, knowing a lot of people that are doing different types of work, that can really help you decide what you might want to do next. And you don't have to do that just through your peers. You can also do that, through people you meet socially. You can say, okay, you're a consultant. What's that like? You work here. What's that like? And so that's a great way to find out more about different work. And then personal opportunities as well, fun things in your life. And also growth in your current job. It's important to network for growth in your current job. If you're doing a great job, but you're doing it by yourself, nobody knows what you're doing, you're not making connections to other people, you're not helping other people, you're probably not going to grow. You need to have some sort of network at your job to help you advance. Especially if you end up in like a corporate world, it's very important to be seen, your work be seen, and be seen as a helpful, good person. And another important to think about with networking is that you're part of any network you have, so you're contributing something to the network. Don't think of a network as something you're getting out of these people, right? That's a bad way to think about it and doesn't end up with good networking. You're also giving something back to these people. So it's sort of a, give and take relationship in a network. And there's different ways to network and how to network. There's lots of ways online to network, and I really like online networking. I can be a bit shy when I meet new people in person, and so it's nice to sort of build up a rapport with people online before I see them, professionally maybe. So there's different ways to do that. There's LinkedIn. I'm sure you all know about LinkedIn. Formal professional networking. It's sort of taking the place of Twitter now for professional networking, since people are, at least in the US, upset about some of the things happening with Twitter. And I think it's good to, with LinkedIn, what I like to think about when I'm on LinkedIn is I like to maintain a general presence. So I update things I've done regularly. I like people's posts. I share people's posts that are relevant to my network. I follow organizations and people that I admire to see what they're doing, to be like, oh, they, learned this new skill. They went to this seminar, maybe that's something I could be interested in as well. So sort of taking tips from people that you admire online in sort of a more passive way. And it's a good place to reach out for informational interviews to find out about job opportunities. And so informational interviews are you say, oh, I think I'd be interested in this type of job, but I don't know like what the work is like or what kind of skills I need to get it. You can find somebody that in your network that has that type of job on LinkedIn maybe, and you can send them a message and say, do you have, 15 minutes to chat about the work that you're doing? And LinkedIn is a good way to find people for that. I also use Twitter, and I allegedly use Blue Sky for informal professional networking. And this was great so I did some work in Rwanda. And in Africa, there's people that are doing atmospheric chemistry, but there's no like AGU, there's no EGU, there's no central conference that everyone goes to. There's just people scattered doing this work. And so Twitter was a great place to reach out to a lot of scientists in Africa that were doing work that I was interested in that I couldn't find other ways. And so it's sort of a way to be more informal than LinkedIn. And I like to just sort of maintain a general presence. It's similar to LinkedIn, and follow organizations and people you admire. But you can also engage in more conversations about scientific topics of interest. Say somebody posts something about, their work, and you're like, oh, that's super interesting. This is my work. This is how it relates. It's an easy way to get in a conversation with people about their work that you're interested in. It's also a good place to expand professional network outside of job seeking. So you might not find a job on Twitter, but you may find a network of people that now know who you are, right? So that's a good thing to do. Yeah. And then other social media. So I personally try to avoid having a lot of professional contacts on Facebook and Instagram, but not every person is the same. But I think it's good to think about how you use each type of social media. Things like Facebook can be great for personal networks. So I'm on a lot of like backcountry ski Facebook groups or like rock climbing Facebook groups. So more hobbies and friends for me. So think about, separating out your social media and professional versus personal. But I know like some people do use Facebook for professional reasons. But if you do, just make sure you keep, your Facebook professional. And you also think about like the appropriateness of messaging people for work related things on like personal platforms. So LinkedIn is a great place to message people for professional reasons. Facebook might not be. So it's sort of a difference in, where people are more open to being reached out to for professional contacts. And then there's also in person. There's when and how to network. And so conferences are a big place to network in person. Sure, you all know that poster sessions are great ways to connect. You can go online before the poster session, find posters you're interested in. If you follow that person on Twitter, maybe reach out to them on Twitter or LinkedIn, and then set up a time to see their poster. So poster sessions are always a good way to network. sometimes I find them overwhelming. So I'll go in and I'll talk to the people that don't have anyone talking to them. And that's also a great way to make people feel, I don't know, like they were seen. And then you have someone that feels warmly about you, and you maybe learned a topic you didn't know about as well. So both find people that you're interested in, also, maybe talk to people who don't currently have anyone at their poster. After talks, it's always great to ask a question to a speaker. I don't love doing this, I can't lie, raising the hand and asking the question, but I think speakers love getting questions. I'm always sad when I don't have any questions after a talk. So you can ask questions to the speaker, and then people see you and, know that you're thinking about that type of work. You can also ask questions to the speaker afterwards. You can even just engage your neighbor at a talk and, oh, what do you like about that talk? Or I thought that talk was good. What do you think about this? Just a way to make small connections. Conferences have networking events. So I'm on the board for the Earth Science Women's Network, and we always host a networking event at, American Geophysical Union conference, and that's a great way to meet a lot of different people as well. And just go there, be ready to meet and mingle. And yeah, do your homework before a conference. Conferences can be large and overwhelming. Try to connect to people online beforehand, schedule times to meet. That can sort of help conferences seem more manageable in terms of networking. And there's other in-person ways to network, obviously. So go to a seminar series that you have at your university, workshops or leadership classes. You can join advisory boards. Lots of cities have, air quality advisory boards or other types of advisory boards or community groups. And, hobbies are also, a great low stakes way to practice with socializing as well. And it also introduces you to non-scientists, expands your network, gives you something to do outside of work, which always makes you a happier person, which, not that work is bad, but it is good. But it's good to have other interests, and then you have other things to talk about while you're networking as well. So yeah, and it gives you sort of perspective on the world outside of science. And so those are places to network. I use a few networking tips to make it all a bit easier when you're networking. And I think the biggest one that I try to remind myself is that most people at professional events are also looking to network. So they'll probably be happy if you come to talk to them, right? So that makes it a bit easier to approach people when you want to network. It's good to know your strengths, so then you feel more confident approaching people. One way you can do that is to map out your strengths and know them. It makes it sort of a connection and conversation of mutual benefit when you're approaching somebody to talk to them about, maybe a job or a paper or something. You're giving something to them as well, not just taking from them. And so your strengths can be your gives in networking. And it's good to know your limits. Like, are you better at small groups or one-on-one conversations? So you can find events that facilitate that, or again, you can set up previous to a large conference, a one-on-one conversation if possible. And are you better if you have a topic to talk about? So maybe you want to go to a topical seminar or keep things on topic, things like that. And I don't know, when I meet too many people at a conference, I like to treat myself to sitting quietly in a corner for like 5 minutes, and then I can go back out, meet more people. So do things like that too, to make sure that you're still open and engaged and having a good time. Little breaks. Another thing I like is to ask people questions about themselves and follow-up questions about things they say. People like talking about themselves generally. You all probably are passionate about your science, so you like talking about your science. Get other people to open up and talk about their science and makes them feel, included in the conversation. You can show your strengths in that conversation, but you need to also let other people talk and make sure that you're showing that you're collaborative and friendly, open. I've been to events where one person was just, sort of the only person talking in a large circle, and nobody else had a chance. And that did not make me necessarily want to connect with that person, if that makes sense. It's good if there's a conversation going. Another thing I like to do is to find a buddy or a networking wing person. So you meet and talk about what you're looking for in a network, and then you can, go off and mingle, but then introduce each other to good contacts, or, work the room together. It's also good to open your circle and networking opportunities. So lots of times people are standing in little clusters, right? Talking to each other. If you see someone alone or a couple people alone, it's good to open up that circle, make a comment to that person that makes them know that they're welcome to join in your conversation as well. And that helps you also make connections too, by bringing that person in. And a little trick that I do sometimes when I'm feeling particularly, nervous is to have an icebreaker opening somewhere in your person. So you could have, like a really cool piece of jewelry. You could have a name tag with your networking needs on it. Like, you say, hello, my name is blah, and I'm open for work, or I'm looking for a postdoc, or, ask me anything about, I don't know, air pollution in France or something like that, right? So it's gives a way for people to come up to you. And so I talked a little about how networking is like a give and take, right? So asset mapping sort of lets you figure out what skills you have to bring to a network. And before I go over this, because we're going to go into breakout rooms, does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. So asset mapping, I sort of stole this from the AGU Voices for Science program, but asset mapping is a way to create inventory of the skills, talents, or resources that you have. And so there's going to be a table for an asset map. And you'll go into maybe breakout rooms. I think there's 30 people, so a few breakout rooms. In the asset map, you'll think about your internal, external assets and strengths, such as your skills and expertise, your experience, and then also the characteristics of that skills and expertise and experience that you really enjoy, that you would be happy to keep bringing to a network. And then external assets like connections. I think that'll make a bit more sense at the next page. But this is sort of your asset map. So a skills, expertise, experience, characteristics, connections to networks, and other. So say you think you're pretty good at presenting research for different audiences. Your experience with that is giving public lectures or doing outreach. The characteristics of that is that you really enjoy big picture discussions of your research, maybe. That's what you like. The connections to networks could be a community advocacy group that you work for, right? So these are all ways to figure out your skills. And I think there's things happening in the chat, but I can't see them. Yeah, so I think, whoop. We can go to make this not a lecture and just more interactive. We could go to a breakout room for maybe 10 minutes. You can introduce yourself to fellow breakout room participants and pick one icebreaker question to answer. And I sent the links, but the link is also here. And I could put it in the chat, or maybe Karin is doing that. And then everyone can add their strength to an asset map, and there's different maps for different breakout rooms. So you can let each person fill on their own one full role and look for common themes and discuss anything missing.
I think that's everybody back.
We were too slow.
We didn't make it to asset mapping.
Okay.
We were still on the introductions.
Yeah, we were still introducing ourselves. So
Okay, good to know about timing if there's ever one of these in the future. But good to meet new people. That's networking, yeah. And everyone has a link to the Google form, so if they want to asset map on themselves by themselves, they can do that, right? All right. So did anything come up while you were introducing yourselves? I guess you didn't. Did anyone get time to asset map and identify strengths? And what kind of strengths came up?
Yeah, mine and Martin's room, we managed to get a few asset maps through. We had making nice plots and presentations, and that had come from working in a company. And we had explaining very complex ideas very simply, and that had come from teaching lots of school-age children, and someone's put programming as well. So yeah, quite a range.
Nice. Anyone else?
I think we only had 3 groups and the other 2 didn't make it to asset
Yep, yep.
mapping.
Did anyone have any questions that came up at all? Probably not with the icebreakers, but
Actually, I had a question before which I missed to ask, and I'm not sure if you talked about it, but what's your take on ResearchGate? Would you consider this also as networking? Are you active there?
oh, that's a good question. I think that is networking. I am not active there because I have a limited capacity for too many platforms, and that's not one I've chosen, but I know people do use it. And it is a good place to put your work. I think you can can't you put your PDFs of your work so people can download them for free? That's great. Yeah, so for that purpose, I think it's really good. Yeah. Yeah, so if people have ResearchGate platforms, I think it's a good place to host your work so that people can access your research without having to pay for it. And that's a super nice part of it. Yeah. Karn?
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna touch this topic. How do we sustain a network? Like, let's say we collaborate or we talk to so many people during the conference.
Yeah.
And sustaining that relationship, should we send them emails after the conference or shared contacts or something like that?
Yeah, I actually was going to talk about that next, so that works perfectly. Yeah, so I think it's great if they have any social media that's in LinkedIn or Twitter, it's easy to add them on that. But I do think that sending a quick follow-up email, soon afterwards that says, we met at the conference, we talked about this, it'd be great to connect on that at this date, like in the future, is a great way to keep the network going. Yeah. And that's what I usually do as well. Because I lose business cards all the time. So if you just exchange business cards, for me, it's gone. But if I send an email, then at least I have the contact information. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try sharing my screen one more time. Let's see how that goes. But then do this really quickly. Then I need to make it this guy. And then, does that work this time?
Yep.
Or do I need Yep, beautiful. All right, and so yeah, Karin asked a really good question about expanding your network mindfully. Past contacts are a good starting point to build your network. So if you worked with somebody that's doing something interesting, moved on, reach out to them, keep in touch. You have to sort of take stock of what you have in your network, what role you'll play, and what role they play, and that will let you see sort of what other people you need in your network. So you have a network already, right? You've networked for both social and professional reasons. You're looking to make more connections in your network, and so it's good to think about who you already have and sort of the people you might need. And yeah, like Karnas, it's good to follow up with new contacts quickly, but respectfully, don't bombard them with messages, but make sure you connect with them somehow. So social media or emails or things like that. And I think we're going to do another quick breakout room. I know we're running low on time, but this is fine because I don't have anything after this. About mapping your current network, your current assets. And so there's different types of networks, right? So there's emotional support, there's career aspirations, collaborators and professional development, access to opportunities, community, things like that. And so it's good to start to think about who you already have in your network. Maybe there's someone you haven't talked to in a while, but you could reach out to them and put them on the network, be like, oh, you would fit this role. It'd be great to reach out to those people. And so I think next we're going to do one more set of 10-minute breakout rooms. Sorry, Max.
No, I'm gonna try and see if I can do it because I've been
Okay,
made host,
awesome.
but do I just recreate or do I open all rooms? That is the question. Does this work?
I think it looks like it's recreating the first ones he made.
Yeah.
But could you tell us what we have to do now?
Yeah. So what you're going to do is you're going to, that right there is a link to the asset map. You take a moment to look at that network map. If you want to fill it out, you can copy and paste it into another document. With the network map in mind, you'll sort of do round robin around your breakout room where everyone answers one of the questions below. So the questions are, what is an example of a situation where you use your network? What are the most challenging parts about building your network and ways to overcome these challenges? What areas of your career development do you think that you're lacking the most in your network? I'm thinking about that network map and where your network's strong and where you're looking for connections is sort of a more basic way to ask that question. So I think everyone will go in and look at that network map, and then everyone in the breakout room will answer one of those questions and discuss. Is that clear?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody's back from the breakout rooms.
Awesome. So how did the breakout rooms go? Was there a place where people were strong in their networks or weak generally?
I think we discussed some of the different questions in my group and got some different inputs from different career stages as well. So I think it was a good discussion.
Nice.
Yeah, same with our group, and that was breakout room 3. So there was a lot of diversity. A lot of people had achievements to share with, and that was fantastic to hear, where they had gone somewhere, they collaborated, follow up with the person or a researcher, and then they got new opportunities. There were definitely some challenges where there was uncertainty about future, what's going to happen, should they continue in which field, whether it's low-cost sensor, satellite, or ground-based. Sometimes there were concerns around the disparities in the opportunities that are offered in different parts of the world. Some aspects are within one's control, but some are not. Then another point was that it's easier to meet people, but how do we ensure that it's a sustained relationship? Sometimes people had concerns that it's just a superficial meeting, and how do we translate it into an effective collaboration where something tangible comes out of it in the end?
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, I think it's just keep meeting those people over and over, try for working together on a deliverable. It's hard when you have limited time, right? Hannah, did you have a group?
Yeah, I was back with the same group with also Martin. So we had 2 committee members. We spoke a lot about the struggles that people have when they're sort of between 2 disciplines. So for me, I'm between atmospheric chemistry and energy, and Martin is between sort of epidemiology and atmospheric chemistry, I suppose. And we both find that it's quite difficult because you end up going to lots of things that you don't understand because there aren't that many people on the interface, or there aren't many events on the interface. So it's a bit harder sometimes at conferences, for example, to meet the right people. And we didn't really have a solution to that. We both sort of agreed that it was quite hard.
Yeah.
Actually, there was one good solution, like find a key person, a person that opens
Yeah.
doors. So just stick to that person and hope that it can introduce you to the other world, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And sometimes one connection can really bring you lots of connections or a whole new network. So you never know. Yeah. Any other questions that came up from those discussions?
I think
Not
if
from us,
anybody
yeah.
has questions, they can ask them now.
Okay.
I think I'll just maybe I repeat one question that came across in our discussion. Like somebody wants to find a postdoc and
Mhm.
they are struggling with this. How can they potentially go about it? Or what's the best way? You're approaching like an established researcher for the very first time at a meeting.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a good question. One thing I am on is I'm on the Earth Sciences jobs list, and there's always postdocs posted there. So joining a jobs list is good because the professor definitely wants a postdoc. That's helpful. What I found helpful years ago when I was looking for a postdoc was I put my advisor's name in the subject line. That doesn't always work, but I say I'm, Maggie Tolbert's student looking for postdoc, and that got me a lot more responses as well. That only works if your advisor is, fairly well known in the community you're looking for. But I think like tailoring your subject line to who you're sending an email to helps a lot to get your email be read. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's helpful.
All right. Well, hopefully this was somewhat helpful for everyone. If you have any more questions, you can email them. And one thing maybe you could do after this after this workshop, is sort of think about future goal setting. So, what is one action you can take in the next week to follow up something you learned today? So you should probably follow the early career researchers on LinkedIn. That would be a great follow-up item, or join their newsletter, or join the IGAC newsletter. You can update your profile, email a colleague to follow up in a discussion, sign up for some sort of course, ask someone to introduce you to a colleague, ask for an informational interview. There's some mentor-mentee programs out there, so you could find one and sign up for one. I've done it both from the mentee and mentor side for a program that my university offers, and it's super nice to make new connections. You can also sort of set a long-term goal. So in the next 6 months, maybe you'll complete 3 informational interviews. You'll follow up, with some colleagues that you met after a conference, develop, a new relationship, fill in, part of your asset map that you're missing, or start to work towards filling that on. Knowing that networking takes time and lots of repeated connections with the same person, often to make it, gel. So yeah, I think that was all I had. The only other thing is here's some resources. I can send it to the committee, and they can share it with you as well, that I looked at while putting this together. So anyways, it's good to see everyone. Yeah. Thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
thank you. Thank you very much for this nice workshop. And before you all leave, I would like to announce the next workshop, which will be given by Rebecca Garland on discussion on developing equitable scientific collaborations, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Will happen on 13th June from 10 to 11 a.m. UTC. And if you want to register, I'm pretty sure that Khan will And the link for registration is already there. All right. Thank you. And so this is the next workshop. And if you have now some time and want to stay here, chat with us, network a bit, you can still stay here. We will be here for the next 20, 30 minutes. So everyone feel free to join us here. Otherwise, thank you for being here. I think we will stop the recording now because our informal talk doesn't need to be recorded. And thanks again, Langley.